Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Do we need this right now? No.
Begin with Shalom Aleichem, page 142. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hashadet, Malachei Elyon, Melech Malachei Amlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Baruchuni leShalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Melech Malachei Amlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
Shay, do I have all the right mics on? I might have pushed a button. Are the band mics correct? I didn't turn anything off? Okay, I don't know.
We're good.
My hand hit something. Shabbat Shalom. It's so good to see you all. It's a little warm in here. We'll figure that out. I know. Well, I don't control the weather, but I do control the air conditioning. So in a moment, I'll try to figure that out.
I think it's just us right up here.
No, I see
all
people
the air
fanning
flows.
themselves. Marielle's going to take care of it. It's so wonderful to be together this Shabbat, to have our band, to get the band back together. It's the boy band.
Tones.
It's a boy band. The Temple Tones. And to have all of you with us on this Shabbos. Tomorrow we will do some special prayers for the coronation of the king. So if you were expecting that tonight.
Yeah.
How do you really feel, Lisa? I don't know. I got a thing that we're supposed to do that stuff, so I'm doing it. I'm American. What do I know? But,
Oh, you're Canadian now.
I'm a Canadian now, too. So they sent out a packet of prayers. They're like, do one. So, but I'll do it tomorrow, so don't worry. It's so nice to be with Cantor Cohen. I was away last week. I had COVID. That was my first time. Don't recommend it for anybody. But I made it that far. Has anybody else not had it yet? Stay away from me. So, wow.
That's impressive.
I thought I was like this anomaly. Honestly, I thought I was immune. I'm like, oh, I must be this mutant person that doesn't get it. But no, I got it. So anyhow, I don't know what all that's about. We're going to continue with the lighting of the Shabbos candles. I want to invite Tony Kennedy to come up to lead us in a reading before the lighting of the candles. Right over here, Tony. Yeah, come over here. Right here.
As these Shabbat candles give a light to all who behold them, so may we by our lives give the light to all who behold us, as their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light. So may we in our own day be among those who kindle light.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, אשר קידשנו במצוותיו, וציוונו להדליק נר של שבת.
Shabbat Shalom.
Thank you, Tony. So I was thinking this week and tonight in particular about Jewish time and the different levels of Jewish time that we can think about. Tonight, of course, is the start of Shabbat, and we're going to have our Kabbalat Shabbat service with these psalms, words of psalms, to bridge that divide between the work week and the holiness and the rest and renewal of Shabbat. But we also are counting the Omer, as we've been doing for the past few weeks. We're going to count the 30th day of the Omer tonight, a little bit later in the service, in this period of 7 weeks between Passover and Shavuot. So we're almost halfway through Lag BaOmer next week. And it's this spiritual journey that offers us kind of a different level of the journey that the Jewish people, the Israelites, took from Exodus to Revelation, receiving the Torah at Sinai that we're going to celebrate with Shavuot at the end of this journey. So wherever you feel like you are in that journey, the journey of this week, the spiritual journey of the Omer, we invite you to join us for Kabbalat Shabbat tonight. Raise your voices with our band and the beautiful words of Psalms. We're going to begin on page 130 with Lechu Neranena. Lechu Neranena l'Adonai, Nariya letzur Yishenu. 1, 2, 3, 4. Lechu Neranena l'Adonai, Nariya letzur Yishenu. Lechu Neranena l'Adonai, Nariya letzur Yishenu. Nekadma fana betoda, mizmirot nariya lo. Nekadma fana betoda, mizmirot nariya lo. Yalai lai 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 lai, yai lai 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 lai, yai lai 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 lai, yai lai 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 lai, yalai lai 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 lai, yai lai 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 lai, yai lai 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 lai, yai lai lai lai, yalai lai lai lai, yalai lai lai lai, yalai lai 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 lai, yai lai 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 lai, yalai lai lai lai, yalai lai lai lai, yalai lai 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 lai, yalai lai. Page 131, Shiru Ladonai. Shiru Ladonai, Shir Chadash, Shiru Ladonai kol haaretz, Shiru Ladonai, Baruchu Shemo, Basro miyom leyom, Yeshuato, Sapru v'goyim kevodo, Bechol ha'amim nifleotav, Ki gadol 133, Mizmor Shiru. Mizmor Shiru l'Adonai, Shir Chadash, Ki Niflaot Asa, Hoshia lo yamino zroa, Kol shodia, Adonai Yeshuato, Beinei hagoyim gilad simchato, Zachar chasdo ve'gvulato, Lebeit Yisrael, Ra'u kol nafsei haaretz, Et Yeshuat Eloheinu, Hariu l'Adonai kol haaretz, Bitzchu ve'ranenu ve'zameru, Yalai, lai, 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 Yai, lai, lai, Yalai, lai, 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 Yai, lai, lai, Yalai, lai, 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 Yai, lai, lai, Yalai, lai, 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 Yalai, yalai, lai, yalai, lai, 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 Yai, lai, lai, Yalai, lai, 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 Yalai, lai, 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 Yalai, lai, Yai, lai, 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 lai. We turn to the top of page 134. Sing praises with the lyre, with drums, trumpets, flute. Zamru l'Adonai. Zameru l'Adonai bechinor, bechinor v'kol zimra. Zameru l'Adonai bechinor, bechinor v'kol zimra. Zameru, zamru l'Adonai. Zameru, zamru l'Adonai. Zameru l'Adonai bechinor, bechinor v'kol zimra. Zameru l'Adonai bechinor, bechinor v'kol zimra. So we turn now to Lecha Dodi, where we welcome officially Shabbat in, imagining Shabbat as a bride who will rise to greet when we get to that last verse, the 9th verse. But first, page 138, Lecha Dodi. O Lecha Dodi, likrat kala, Penei Shabbat lekavela. O Lecha Dodi, likrat kala, Penei Shabbat lekavela. Verse 1. Shamor וזכור בדיבור אחד, השמיענו אל המיוחד. אדוני אחד ושמו אחד, לשם ולתפארת ולתהילה. הולך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקמלה. הולך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקמלה. Verse 2. לקראת שבת לכהן נלך, כי מקור הברכה. מראש מקדם נסוכה, סוף מעשה במחשבה תחילה. הולך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת 3. מקדש מלך, עיר מלוכה, קומי צאי מתוך כפיך, רב לך שבט בעמק הבכה, והוא יחמול עלייך חמלה, הולך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה, הולך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. Verse 5. התעוררי, התעוררי, כי בעורף קומי אורי, 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 שיר דברי, כבוד אדוני עלייך נגלה, הולך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה, הולך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה.
We'll rise and face the door to greet the Sabbath bro.
בואי ושלום, עטרת מעלה, גם בשמחה ובצהלה, תוך אמוני עם סגולה, בואי חלה, בואי חלה, הולך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה, הולך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. So we're going to
Can be
turn,
seated.
yep, to page 140 for a psalm specifically for Shabbat, Mizmor Shir LeYom HaShabbat, this beautiful melody by Kayla Dennis. It goes like this. Mizmor Shir LeYom HaShabbat, Tov lehodot l'Adonai. Mizmor Shir. מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, וזמר, וזמר לשמך עליון, וזמר לשמך עליון, להגיד, להגיד בבוקר חסדך, ואמונתך בלילות. מזמור שיר, מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני. מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, וזמר, וזמר לשמך עליון, וזמר לשמך עליון, להגיד בבוקר חסדך, ואמונתך בלילות. Last time. מזמור שיר ליום השבת. You got it. טוב להודות לאדוני, מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני.
Beautiful. Thank you to our band. That was so wonderful. What a great way to open Shabbat. Page 263 will rise, Chatzi Kaddish.
יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה.
אמן.
ואלמד דברי חירותי וימליך מלכותי. בחייכון עוד יומכון ובחיי דכל בית ישראל. בגלה בגלה ובזמן קריב ואמרו
אמן.
יהי שמרה במברך לעולם ולעולמי עמיה. יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתעלה שמי דקודשה
בריחו.
לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה דמירן בעלמה ואמרו
אמן.
ברכו את אדוני המבורך.
ברוך אדוני המבורך לעולם ועד.
ברוך אדוני המבורך לעולם ועד.
Please be seated. We'll join together in a prayer for evening, page 265. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bidvaro ma'ariv aravim, b'chokhmah poteach she'arim, ובתבונה משנה עתים, ומחליף את הזמנים, ומסדר את הכוכבים במשמרותיהם ברקיע כרצונו. בורא יום ולילה, גולל אור מפני חושך, וחושך מפני אור. ומעביר יום ומביא לילה, ומבדיל בין יום ובין לילה, אדוני צבאות שמו. אל חי וקיים, תמיד ימלוך עלינו לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני, המעריב ערבים. Page 266.
אהבת עולם בית ישראל, עמך אהבת. תורה ומצוות, חוקים ומשפטים, אותנו לימדת. על כן אדוני אלוהינו, בשוכבנו ובקומנו, נשיח בחוקך. ונשמח בדברי תורתך ובמצוותיך לעולם לעולם ועד. כי הם חיינו ואורך ימינו, ובהם נגד יומם ולילה ואהבתך. אל תסיר ממנו לעולמים. ברוך אתה אדוני, אוהב עמו ישראל. שמע ישראל, אדוני אלוהינו, אדוני אחד. ברוך שם כבוד מלכותו לעולם ועד. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך. והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם, בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך, ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם מאוד על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובישעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אמת.
Page 270, Mi Chamocha, a song of redemption.
מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נהדר בקודש, נורא תהילות אוסף אלה, נורא תהילות אוסף אלה. מלכותך ראו בניך, בוקע ים לפני משה ומרים, זה עלינו ואמרו, אדוני ימלוך, אדוני ימלוך, לעולם ועד. ונאמר, כי בד אדוני את יעקב, וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו. ברוך אתה אדוני, גאל ישראל. השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום, לשלום. והעמידנו שומרנו לחיים. ופרוס עלינו סוכת שלומך, ופרוס עלינו סוכת שלומך. Amen. Last two lines. Baruch atah Adonai, ha'poreh sukat shalom aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael, ve'al Yerushalayim.
On page 272, their words of Yismachu are there. It's a commandment to celebrate and rejoice, to delight in Shabbat. Of all the things that were commanded in Torah, there are some that I think are kind of hard to order someone to do. Love, the Ve'ahavta, where we're commanded to love God. Love is an emotion that one would choose, and I would think that to be commanded to have joy, to feel a sense of joy and celebration, is also one that is more a matter of choice than being instructed, you must be joyful in this moment. But then at the same time, we can set about creating the scaffolding that we need so that we can enjoy a moment. What does it take for you to enjoy Shabbat? What are the things that we have? Because in order to be ready for Shabbat, one has to actually prepare for it. What are the things that we know we need to do in our lives so that that moment of Shabbos, whether it's with family or ourselves, whether it's just Friday night or we're able to extend it into the day on Saturday, maybe there's a nap in there. What is it that we need to, that's my Shabbos. What is it that we need to do to create the scaffolding, the infrastructure to support our joy of Shabbat? And are we doing those things? Or do we sabotage ourselves because we don't put the time in to prepare so that we can actually fully enjoy and celebrate Shabbat? It's not too late. We can start that now as we celebrate Shabbat together. Page 272, Yismachu.
ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי 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 שבת וקורא עוני שבת. ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי 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 שבת וקורא עוני שבת. מקדשי שבי שבת, כולם יספהו ויתענגו מטובך שבת. ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי 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 שבת וקורא עוני שבת. ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי 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 שבת וקורא עוני שבת. והשביעי רצית בו וקידשתו שבת. חמדת ימים אותו קראת שבת. ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי 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 שבת וקורא עוני שבת. ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי 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 שבת וקורא עוני שבת. זכר למעשה בראשית שבת. זכר למעשה בראשית שבת. ישמחו ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי 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 שבת וקוראי עונש שבת. ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי 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 שבת וקוראי עונש שבת.
I might not be a member of the band, but I can play a mean siddur. Never had one lesson. Page 273, we rise for the Amidah as we begin with a prayer for prayer.
Adonai sfatai tiftach, Adonai sfatai tiftach, ufi yagid tehilatecha, ufi yagid tehilatecha. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak v'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel v'Elohei Leah, Ha'el HaGadol HaGibor v'Hanora, El Elyon Gomel Hasadim Tovim v'Koneh HaKol, v'Zocher Hasei Avot v'Imahot, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה. מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם בעזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי מתים אתה רב להושיע, מוריד הטל, מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיי מתים ברחמים רבים, צומח נוכלים ברופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות, ומי דומה לך, מלך ממית ומחיה, ומצמיח ישוע ונאמן אתה לחיות מתים. ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי המתים. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלע. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש.
You are holy, your name is holy, and those who are holy praise you every day. Bless you, Adonai, the holy God. Baruch atah Adonai, ha'el hakadosh.
Amen.
Please be seated. We continue page 279 with Ritzeh.
Ritzeh Adonai Eloheinu be'amecha Yisrael utefilatam be'ahava tekabel utehi leratzon tamid avodat Yisrael Yisrael amecha el karov lechol korav penei el avadecha vechonenu shefoch ruchacha aleinu v'techezena einenu beshuvecha leTzion ברחמים ברוך אתה אדוני המחזיר שכינתו לציון
We take a moment now as we pause to acknowledge the blessings in our lives. Our siddur instructs us at this moment to offer a prayer of hoda'ah, a prayer of thanksgiving, because sometimes we need to be reminded to have gratitude for what is good in our life. We so often focus so much on the oys and not the joys. We take a moment for prayers of gratitude and thanksgiving.
ואל ניסך שבכל יום, ערב ובוקר וצהריים, מעולם קיווינו לך, מעולם קיווינו לך, הטוב כי לא חלו רחמך, והמרחם כי לא תמו חסדך, מעולם קיווינו לך, מעולם קיווינו לך.
A song of peace, a prayer for peace, page 282, Shalom Rav.
שלום רב על ישראל עמך, תשים לעולם. שלום רב על ישראל עמך, תשים לעולם. כי אתה הוא מלך אדון לכל השלום. כי אתה הוא מלך אדון לכל השלום. שלום רב על ישראל עמך, תשים לעולם. שלום רב על ישראל עמך, תשים לעולם. וטוב בעיניך לברך את עמך ישראל, בכל עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. שלום רב על ישראל עמך, תשים לעולם. שלום רב על ישראל עמך, תשים לעולם. תשים לעולם, תשים לעולם.
Adonai, keep my tongue from evil, my lips from speaking guile. To those who revile me, let my soul be silent. My soul shall be to all as dust. Open my heart to your Torah. Let my soul hasten to your commandments. Let the words of my mouth and my heart's meditations be acceptable in your presence, O God, my rock and my redeemer. We take some moments for private prayer and meditation. We turn our thoughts now to those who are suffering with ongoing illness, who in the midst of their ongoing struggle and recovery, we don't want them to be forgotten, even as the most acute phase may have passed and all the attention that comes with it as well. Mishaberach avotenu v'imotenu, be with our loved ones through these days, months, and years of ongoing illness, and plant within them the courage and fortitude they need to endure weakness, loss of memory, and pain. Help us to continue to find ways to show our love and concern for them in their time of need. Give them strength of spirit as they face their daily challenges. May their afflictions soon be ended, and may they return in health to family and friends. Baruch atah Adonai, Rofei HaCholim. Amen. And at this time, we offer prayers of healing, Amisha Berach, for those in our community who are sick and in need of this prayer. We ask God's blessing upon Yaakov ben Yosef Vabatia, Michael Cohen, Reuven ben Zlota ben Nachman, Ron Mintz, Lynn Kerson, Mats Gershman, Louise Sprackman, Esther Chetner, Wendy Seelig, Roger Seelig, Nancy Willing, Landon Slobin, Yaakov Eliezer ben Caleb Apala, Jerry Lampert, Luis Adrian Seelig, Susan Mishler, Natalie Mormelli, Yumkin Gudan, Semach ben Menashe HaLevi Varikla, Meyer Tzvi, Meir Zalman ben Rachel, Daniel Gottesman, Bill Shaw, Claire Columbia, Alicia Eckersley, Carla Zavot, Janet Gelb, David Shlomo Gorney, and Andrea Jarzabak. If there are others in need of this prayer for healing, I invite you to stand and call their names one by one in our congregation. We join together, page 373 in the Misha Berach, a prayer for 371, a prayer for healing.
Misha Berach avotenu mekor habracha leimotenu. May the source of strength who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Mishe berach imotenu mekor habracha lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
Thank you, Cantor. Thank you, band. Thank you. It's my pleasure now to invite a member of our board, David Albert, who's here and didn't know he was going to do this when he walked in the room, to come and share with us some words of welcome and greeting, as well as the announcements for this evening.
All right, thank you, Rabbi. So my name's David Albert. I'm relatively new to Temple Sholom. I've been loosely associated because I've been involved with the White Rock South Surrey Jewish Community Center for decades, but I only joined a few years ago, and I'm pleased to be here, and I'm pleased to make the announcements today. The first thing I want to talk about is the band, because I moved from over there, where I usually sit, over here to get closer to the band. I've never been in the shul when the band's playing. I'm a guitar strummer, and if my wife was here, she'd tell you that I've strummed the same 3 or 4 chords for the last 28 years. And I always say, well, I'm playing Bob Dylan, Neil Young, whatever. Now I'm going to say I'm playing Kabbalat Shabbat. And so thank you to the band. Next, I see that tomorrow, I was unaware of this, that we're welcoming Michael Sachs. And I won't be here tomorrow, but my sister, my younger sister, works for JNF in Ottawa. And she's been trying to connect me and Michael Sachs for the last few months. And we've been exchanging texts and emails, but we actually have never met or never spoken. I won't be here tomorrow, so you'll have to pass on the fact that I gave him a shout out tonight. I still hope to go for coffee with him. So my sister's trying to essentially matchmake, and that leads to my next announcement. This week, Netflix released Jewish Matchmakers, and I'm not endorsing it for the shul, or certainly not, I'm not endorsing it myself, but I did watch a couple of episodes yesterday with my wife and my daughter, Julia, and they had a bunch of questions for me. I grew up in Ottawa in a more conservative setting, and they asked me, one couple, the male was Sephardic, and the woman was Ashkenazi, and it was like, is this a problem? And it was a problem for the man. It was a bit of a problem, and my daughter said, what's the difference? And I said, well, I know that Sephardics, they eat rice on Pesach, and Ashkenazis don't, and my daughter and wife both went like, are you crazy? Like, can that be what this is all about? And of course, the first thing when they actually started talking to each other was about eating rice on Pesach. But that leads to my first announcement, somewhat out of order, because I see that on May the 17th, we are beginning the Taste of Judaism with Rabbi Dan, which is a beginner and introduction to Judaism for anybody who's interested, I gather. And so there was that example, and I was thinking, well, what is the difference? I mean, I know a little bit. And then one of the, also on the same show, one of the males was putting on tefillin every morning, and it was whether he was too religious or not. And again, I got questions about tefillin, which I grew up in a conservative household, and I put on tefillin for years. But never really understood much about why I put it on. I know it's a tradition, and I thought maybe I should be coming and learn as well. So we might all be there, Rabbi Dan. Next, so tomorrow's services, which I think are 10 o'clock, welcoming Michael Sachs. There is a walking group, which meets, Sisterhood Walking Group, meeting next Sunday, May the 7th at 11 a.m. for a 40-minute walk in Pacific Spirit Park. The directions are in the pamphlet, which is just outside the door. Men's Club presenting Standing Up to Anti-Semitism on Wednesday, May 10th at 7 p.m. And again, the details about the program are set out in the pamphlet, and it looks like a very interesting program. The 2023 Sisterhood AGM will take place May 15th. There's a lot happening in May, but I guess there's a lot happening every month. Taste of Judaism, I've already mentioned. And let's see, seniors are invited to the next Shalom Shishim Lunch and Learn on Tuesday, May 23rd at noon. And I think that's good. Okay, and the rest of the announcements you can check outside the door. Thank you, Rabbi.
Thank you, David. It's funny, I haven't seen that show, but I'm about to talk about something on TV, so it kind of fits. So again, thank you to our band and to our wonderful cantor for this evening's musical Shabbat. So let me state from the very beginning that I am very much aware that sermons about pop culture, particularly those about TV shows, have a shelf life of about 5 minutes. And I look back on sermons that I've given over my career in the rabbinate about movies and television shows. I've talked about The West Wing, I've talked about The Brady Bunch, Star Wars, Bull Durham, Leave It to Beaver recently. The shows, while iconic, hardly have the lasting influence of great Jewish literature or sacred texts. Yet, as I have discovered over that same period of time, sometimes, we know pop culture at a level of depth and detail that our rabbis of past and present only dreamed that we would know about the Talmud or the Torah. So perhaps I'm speaking your Talmud or your Torah when I talk about TV. Sometimes it's mine. So this sermon came to me last week while I was home with COVID, binge watching season 3 of the hit comedy Ted Lasso. It's possible that it should have stayed in my mind, and it's still not quite ready for prime time, maybe, but I committed to the topic. Nama sent it out in the email, so I have to give the sermon, for better or for worse. First, by way of background, for those that have not been otherwise occupied or distracted over the last 3 years, Ted Lasso is an Apple TV comedy starring comedian Jason Sudeikis as the title character. Coach Lasso is a good-hearted, optimistic Kansas football coach who moves to London to manage a soccer team, a sport confusingly called football in the United Kingdom. And it's your typical fish-out-of-water story, American transplant in the heart of British football lore. Coach Lasso knows nothing about soccer, but what makes him so endearing and what made the show such a breakout hit, particularly at the start of the pandemic, is his emotional intelligence and his good nature. His sort of aw-shucks attitude makes him an excellent coach and a positive influence on the people that are all around him. Sudeikis describes the character as Mr. Rogers meets John Wooden. Wooden being the legendary UCLA basketball coach that was known as much for his coaching philosophy as he was for his winning championship seasons. Wooden might be considered by some the Rambam of basketball. Probably not by anybody, but anyhow. Coach Lasso's secret weapon is his positivity. His coaching strategy is not to drill and demand, but to teach his, at the time, losing players to believe in themselves, to believe in each other. He's the antithesis of the archetype of that drill instructor sports coach who demands perfection from their team, often with disregard for their players' humanity or their mental anguish. Lasso's catchphrase is, believe in belief. Believe in belief. And it's actually Maimonidean in its simplicity and its transformative power. Maimonides, or the Rambam, as he was known by his players, his students, I don't know, famously taught of 13 articles of faith, ranging from belief in the existence of God as creator to God communicating with humanity through prophetic voices and the unity and the singularity of Adonai. For Ted and the Rambam, the act of belief is actually self-actualizing. To believe in something, what those in recovery would call a power greater than themselves or greater than yourself, is the key to living a life of purpose and meaning. Believing gives life direction, it's empowering, and when shared by a group, it can be world or at the very least game-changing. For the players on Ted's football team, soccer team, they will be good on the field once they believe that they can be good on the field. Mind over matter, so to speak. It's been a truth taught by every sports psychologist and little league coach since our kids were little, running around on a soccer field or a baseball diamond, and it's also very Jewish. It centers on hope, on tikva, hatikva, the clarion call of the Jewish state, voiced in the Israeli national anthem, has also been threaded throughout our Torah. In a few weeks, we'll read a story of the 12 spies in Shlach Lecha, in the book of Numbers, that enter the biblical land of Canaan. 10 don't believe that we can settle the land, that we can conquer it. In fact, that we are like grasshoppers in the eyes of giants. And they despair and that toxicity becomes infectious. But Joshua and Caleb declare, let us by all means go up, and we shall gain possession of it, meaning the land, for we shall surely overcome it. They believe in belief. It's the same as when Ted gathers his players in the locker room mid-match. They're losing badly, and he points to the sign that he has placed above his office door in that locker room with the single word on it. The sign is placed crookedly on purpose, and it just says, believe. And he sermonizes like Moses on the mountain to the Israelites at the base of Mount Sinai in that moment after the destruction of the golden calf, in that moment of despair. Coach Lasso says the following. So I've been hearing this phrase you all got over here that I ain't too crazy about. It's the hope that kills you. You all know that. I disagree, you know. I think it's the lack of hope that comes and gets you. See, I believe in hope. I believe in belief. Now, where I'm from, we got a saying too, yeah? A question, actually. Do you believe in miracles? Now, I don't need y'all to answer that question for me, but I do want you to answer that question for yourselves right now. Do you believe in miracles? And if you do, then I want you all to circle up with me right now. Come on, let's go. And off to the field they go. In my COVID-idled mind, and even today essentially recovered, but not entirely, that's a pretty Jewish thing to say. Believe in belief. Have faith in faith. That is part of the Torah of Ted, and it's part of Judaism. The second teaching that leapt off the screen and into this sermon for me while watching the show was a wonderful scene in season 2 where Ted is challenged to a game of darts by the former owner and nemesis. His name is Rupert. Rupert is cast as a billionaire playboy who wants only to see his former team, now owned by his ex-wife Rebecca, fail at every opportunity. And so he challenges Ted to a game of darts in the pub that is synonymous with the team. Ted, a friend and admirer of Rebecca, the club's owner, now takes up the challenge, pride and bragging rights on the line for all who are involved. Rupert apparently is a master dartsman, and when it's Ted's turn, he is well behind, needing 2 high scores and a bullseye to win the game. Ted, with dart in hand, launches into the following monologue, directed at Rupert, but in earshot of the whole pub. And it goes like this. Guys have underestimated me my entire life, and for years I never understood why. It used to really bother me, but then one day I was driving my little boy to school and I saw a quote by Walt Whitman. By the way, it's actually not Walt Whitman, but that's what the show says. It was painted on the wall and it said, "Be curious, not judgmental." I like that. Ted throws a triple 20, which apparently is good. I don't know. So I get back in my car, he continues, and I'm driving to work, and all of a sudden it hits me, and all them fellas that used to belittle me, not a single one of them was curious. You know, they never thought that they thought that they had everything figured out. So they judged everything and they judged everyone. And I realized that they're underestimating me. Who I was had nothing to do with it, because if they were curious, they would have asked questions. Questions like, "Have you played a lot of darts, Ted?" He throws another triple 20. To which I would have answered, "Yes, sir. Every Sunday afternoon at a sports bar with my father from age 10 until I was 16 when he passed away. Because barbecue sauce," which apparently means bullseye, he throws a bullseye to win. The idea that we would judge a person by outward appearance and not by what is inside of them is antithetical to Judaism. In Pirkei Avot, we are taught, "Al tistakel b'kankan," don't look at the container, but at what is inside it. The container or vessels, the rabbis would have us understand, has little to do with what is inside of it. The bottle could be beautiful, the wine could be terrible, just as the bottle could be plain and simple, yet the wine is superb. Perhaps, said another way, don't judge a book by its cover. Rabbi Yehuda Hanassi, for whom the Mishnah is attributed, he said, "Don't look at the container, but at what is in it." Like the great rabbi to whom the whole of the Mishnah is attributed, Ted implores us to ask questions, open-ended questions, to learn more about people, to be curious and to show empathy, not judgment. In modern parlance, to not judge the book by its cover, a person by their appearance. The dream of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., that one day we will live in a nation where children will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. This teaching also has a corollary that also speaks to the Jewish values that underlie interpersonal relationships. Coach Lasso is telling us, be curious, not judgmental, towards those we meet, friends, family, even strangers. He's telling us to be curious, not judgmental about ourselves. Because we live in a time with an ever-increasing amount of depression, sadness, isolation, loneliness, and anxiety. And we need to be curious of our actions, not judgmental of ourselves. What does it do for our self-esteem or our confidence when we screw something up or we make a poor decision only to then scold ourselves or call ourselves stupid? The same lesson that we should be curious, not judgmental, still applies. Be curious about why you did something. Take a moment and honestly think about it. But to cast judgment does little good to help us grow from that experience. And I've taught this to you before, but I need to remember it for myself. I think that it's sloppy theology to say that everything happens for a reason, as I so often hear. As though all events are part of some divine master plan. Rather, I think the Jewish response, the Ted Lasso response, is to say that there is a reason for everything that happens. There is a backstory. Be curious about that, about the underlying cause and effect. Understand that, and you will have empathy and compassion and ultimately insight into the root cause that is challenging and facing you, or facing another, or a group, or society. Shalom, peace, and wholeness is found when you follow curiosity to its right and just conclusion, to justice and understanding. Lastly, because lessons come in threes, in last week's episode, one of the most beloved members of this team has his restaurant vandalized. The furnishings are trashed, the previously packed guest list is now decimated and scared away, and every piece of glass and cookware in the kitchen is in shambles. The player is crestfallen and is heartbroken, not only for the financial loss, though he does have insurance, we learn, but for what this act of hate, motivated by a social media post that he had created against xenophobia and against bigotry, tells him about the people that he thought were his fans. His whole team shows up at the restaurant one evening and begins to clean and clear and repair the damaged business. When asked by their teammates what they are all doing this for, why they are all there, why they are helping, the response is a powerful reminder of an age-old Jewish teaching. They reply, "We know what this situation needs. It needs every single one of us." It is no accident that the Jewish people call ourselves an Am Yisrael, the people of Israel, rather than Dat Yisrael, the religion of Israel. A sense of peoplehood has long been the defining characteristic of Judaism, the central experience of Jewish history. The only event that demands an annual retelling is that of the Exodus from Egypt. We just did it during Pesach. And though wrapped up in an encounter with divinity, the Exodus was primarily an experience of national unity and national liberation, rather than a moment of religious awakening. On the everyday level, this focus on peoplehood is translated into an emphasis on the community as the primary organizing structure of Jewish life. Wherever Jews have lived, they have built synagogues, established communal organizations, and created systems of communal governance. Jewish texts treat participation in communal affairs not as an option, but as a religious obligation. It's a mitzvah. One midrash likens removing oneself from the community to destroying the whole world. Another admonishes every Jew, al tifrosh min hatzibur, don't separate yourself from the community. Why? Because of all people, a people destined to live and dwell apart from the majority of every society that we have lived in, of all people, Am Yisrael, the people of Israel, have learned that the Jewish answer to the age-old question, am I my brother or my sister's keeper, is yes. Yes, you are. Yes, we are. What does it take for our people to not only survive, but also to thrive? It takes, in the words of Ted Lasso and of Jewish tradition, it takes every one of us. Believe in belief. Be curious, not judgmental. What does any situation need? It needs every single one of us. 3 lessons from Torah, from the Torah of Ted Lasso. The show may indeed be only a passing fad, already falling out of favor with some, moving off of our PVR list queue for the Real Housewives of someplace, somewhere, or Jewish Orthodox mating rituals, I don't know. But those 3 lessons, they are timeless, and their wisdom is eternal. Shabbat Shalom. We'll continue page 586. We'll rise for Elena.
Before we do Elena, we have one.
Oh, yeah. Before Elena. You can remain seated, sorry, as
Which
we count
is-
the Omer.
Yes, exactly. We're going to count the Omer. Finally, we've made it to this point in our service.
Page 570 if you want to follow along.
So remember what day it is tonight? 30. Okay, page 570, and we begin with like a warm-up, a meditation on counting the Omer. Part of it is in the siddur, and part of it you'll hear in the melody. What do we say, Fred? Capo 3? All right. 1, 2, 3. Ya la la la, ya la la la, ya la 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 la, ya la la la, ya la la la, ya la 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 la. Leshem yichud, kudshabrichu shchinte, hineni mochan umezuman, lekayem mitzvot aseh, shesfirat haomer, shesfirat haomer, shesfirat haomer, shesfirat haomer. Sheva Shabbatot, temimot tihena. Sheva Shabbatot, temimot tihena. Ya la la la, ya la la la, ya la 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 la, ya la la la, ya la la la, ya la 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 la. Baruch atah Adonai. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu. Asfirat haomer, asfirat haomer, asfirat haomer, asfirat haomer. Hayom shloshim yom, shehem arba'a shavuot, ושני ימים לעומר. יא לה לה לה, יא לה לה לה, יא לה 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 לה, יא לה לה לה, יא לה לה לה, יא לה 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 לה. Today is the 30th day of the Omer, marking 4 weeks and 2 days.
And Lag BaOmer then is just 3 days away.
That's right.
Yeah. Want to find out what Lag BaOmer is? Come to my class. We're going to continue page 586, so we'll turn ahead a little bit as we continue with the Leinu. Please rise.
עלינו לשבח אדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא, שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסד הארץ, ומושב יקרו בשמיים ממעל, ושכינתו זו, ושכינתו זו, בגובי מרומים, הוא אלוהינו אין עוד, אמת מלכנו, אפס זולתו, ככתוב בתורתו, וידעת היום להשבות אל לבבך, כי אדוני הוא האלוהים, בשמיים ממעל, ועל הארץ מתחת, אין עוד, אין עוד. Middle of page 590. כי המלכות שלך היא, ולעולמי עד תמלוך בכבוד, ככתוב בתורתך, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד.
Please be seated. A reading before Kadisha Tom, the Mourner's Kaddish, page 583. In the rising of the sun and its going down, we remember them. In the blowing of the wind and the chill of winter, we remember them. In the opening of buds and the rebirth of spring, we remember them. In the blueness of the sky and the warmth of summer, we remember them. In the rustling of leaves and the beauty of autumn, we remember them. In the beginning of the year and when it ends, we remember them. When we are weary and in need of strength, we remember them. When we are lost and sick at heart, we remember them. When we have joys we yearn to share, we remember them. So long as they live, we too shall live, for they are now a part of us as we remember them. On this Shabbat, we recall those who died during this past week, whose families are in the midst of Shiva, or who died during this past month and are in the midst of Shloshim. As I read the name of your loved one, if you could rise and remain standing here or at home. Alex Buckman, Matthew Good, Joy LeBeau, Roger Lewis. And those for whom the Yortzeit, the anniversary of the death of your loved ones on this Shabbat, if you too could rise as I read their name. Lily Alvarez, David Asmucha, Israel Bookman, Albert Brody, Gerald Churtko, Louis Easton, Isabel Edwards, Oscar Eisenstadt, Esther Fogelbaum, Benjamin Gilligson, Nora Goldstein, Bill Halperin, Lillian Halter, Charlotte James, Alejandro Young, Mendel Kanofsky, Bluma Davis Korn, Ben Kramer, Louis Libben, Anita Mabe, Harold Mann, Max Menkes, Donna Moskowitz, Mary Maisko, Dr. Harold Netter, Rabbi Aaron Pankin, Eileen Rudnutsky, Beverly Rosenzweig, Laszlo Rostas, Rabbi Harold Rubens, Bella Samuels, Alexander Savin, John Scott, Pauline Schiffman, Ralph Schulman, Gary Joseph Simkin, Ruth Starrin, Henry Voth, Alexander Weinberg, Cam Wong. There are others who've come to say Kaddish, names I've missed or mispronounced. If you could rise and call those out in the midst of our congregation as well.
Harry Goldstein.
Annette Albert.
Lillian Brookstone.
We rise and join those who are mourning in Kadisha Tom, the Mourner's Kaddish, page 598. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei Rabbah.
Amen.
V'yomad yivrach yeruteh v'yamlich malchuteh. B'chayachon uv'yomechon uv'chayei l'chol Beit Yisrael. Ba'agala uv'izman kariv v'yimaru. Amen.
Amen.
Yehei shmei Rabbah mevorach le'olam u'l'almei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitroman v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemed kudisha b'richu le'elam min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata damiron v'oma v'yimaru. Amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya v'chaim aleinu v'yal kol Yisrael v'yimaru. Amen.
Amen.
Oseh shalom v'ramav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu v'yal kol Yisrael v'kol yoshvei tevel v'yimaru. Amen.
Amen.
May the source of peace send peace to all who mourn and comfort the bereaved among us, and we say together, Amen.
Amen.
We're going to join with our cantor in a kiddush and a motzi, and then our closing song with the band.
Here,
Just careful.
I'm going to let you do the most part.
Okay.
ויערב ויבוקר יום השישי, ויחולו השמיים והארץ וכל צבאם, ויחל אלוהים ביום השביעי מלאכתו אשר עשה, וישפוט ביום השביעי מכל מלאכתו אשר עשה, ויברך אלוהים את יום השביעי, ויקדש אותו, כי בו שבת מכל מלאכתו אשר ברא אלוהים לעשות. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, בורא פרי הגפן.
Amen.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, אשר קידשנו במצוותיו ורצבנו, בשבת קודשו באהבה וברצון הנחילנו, זיכרון למעשה בראשית, כי הוא יום תחילה למקראי קודש, זכר ליציאת מצרים. כי באנו בחרת ואותנו קידשת מכל העמים, ושבת קודשך באהבה וברצון הנחלתנו. ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת.
Amen.
Chaim.
L'chaim. It's a challah. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz.
Amen. עושה שלום במרומה, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועל כל יושבי תבל, ואמרו
Shabbat Shalom. Join us in our social Torah study tomorrow morning at 8:30 here or online. Shabbat Shalom.